Hey everybody, it's Miss A and I'm here with a YouTube video. This video is slightly different. It's not about math and science, but it is about history. Every year on this day, when the kids are in school, we do a lesson to remember what happened on this day. September 11th, 2001 was the day that the Twin Towers fell. I do this with the kids because it's something that's not currently in our history books, but it is a significant part of our history and has changed how the United States works and functions now. And I really like the kids to have an understanding of what happened. And we do it to remember the lives that were lost. There were a total of 2,996 lives lost that day, or lost due to reasons of that day. There were 265 that were on the 4 flights. The 2 flights that hit the Twin Towers, the 1 flight that hit the Pentagon, and the flight that went down in a field in Pennsylvania. There were 2,606 deaths in the Twin Towers, or reasons associated to the crash itself. There have been several lives that have been considered a death due to the accident that happened on that day. Many of them died from cancer, lung disease related to that day. There were 125 members that died in the Pentagon. There were 343 firefighters that died that day. These are men and women that went in to help. They weren't in the towers when they were struck. They went in to help save lives. There was 71 law enforcement that died that day, and 55 people in the military. Today is a day that the children should be aware that changed our modern day history. Again, it's not something that's in our history books, but it is something that the children need to know. Now, normally we usually watch some videos, and I read a book called Fireboat. It is a very kid-friendly book. It talks about fireboats are boats that run in the harbors up in New York, and if there is a fire, they pump water from the harbors to put the fire out. And this was about a retired boat that basically was no longer in use, but due to what happened on September 11th, the boat was called up, and it actually fed water to the firefighters because they did not have access to the water by the towers due to all the debris. So we typically read that. There's another book called The Man Who Walked Between the Two Towers. Very good books that really give the kids an understanding of the mindset that was going on then. So now what I want to do is I want to show the kids a video about the towers and about what happened that day. Just like every other day, people traveled by cars, trains, buses, and planes. On their way to work, school, and other everyday places. until terrorists attacked the United States of America. At 8:46 a.m., a hijacked, stolen plane was flown into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Then at 9:03 a.m., a second plane was flown into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. Our country was officially under attack, and we didn't know why. President George W. Bush was talking with a second-grade class in Florida when he found out what had happened. A third plane hit the Pentagon, headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, in Arlington, Virginia at 9:37 a.m. Americans did not know what to think at this point, and then, at 10 a.m., the South Tower collapses. At the same time, a fourth plane, Flight 93, had also been hijacked, but those passengers refused to go out without a fight. That plane, the people believed, was headed for Washington, D.C., but the passengers did not let that happen. It crashed into Pennsylvania instead. And then at around 10:30 a.m., the North Tower collapsed too. Transportation systems were closed down and all flights were postponed. People left work and some picked their children up from school. The nation seemed to just stop. But in spite of all, people came to help. We knew we needed to stick together as a nation. As a nation, we proudly raised our flags. Alright, so I usually typically show the kids that video, and like I said, I read them a book about the fireboat, just to remind them of modern day history. This event changed the world as I knew it. I was a young kid when this happened, and I mean, I was in my teens, but I remember it happening, and I remember the exact moment that it happened. I remember every event, and it's something that modern day is similar to what those that were around during World War II and World War I, things that they remember. It's something that the kids should be aware about that should happen. We also shouldn't teach hate. There were certain types of people that did this, but it doesn't, we're not crucifying a religion or a certain type of people. There are bad people of all different races and religions. We just need to be aware of what happened so we don't make the same mistakes twice. So that's why I typically do this lesson with the kids, and due to Hurricane Irma, I was not able to do it, so I wanted to put a little something on YouTube just to remind the kids of what has happened and how the world can change. It changed that day, and it's still, the world is still completely changed due to the events of that day. Again, there's a total of 2,996 lives that have currently been lost. They counted all the lives that were lost in the towers, and now they've related deaths associated to the inhalation of the asbestos and the dust and that type of stuff. So people that have died related to the events of that day. 265 on the 4 flights. 2 that hit this the North and South Tower, the one that went down in the field in Pennsylvania, Flight 93, and the one that hit the Pentagon. 125 members of the Pentagon, 343 firefighters, 71 law enforcement officers, and 55 military people that gave up their lives that day to help those in need. Today is a day that we should remember and honor those that have that lost their lives. Remember them and make sure that we don't repeat the events of that day. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day.